everybody. Just wanted to do a bit of a progress update because I had an exacerbation. Definitely not just minor flare-ups or a minor flare-up. This was definitely an exacerbation. It came out of nowhere. I was fine one day, woke up the next day, had all these symptoms, and they lasted maybe about a week before they started tapering down a bit after steroid treatment, of course. Have my little memory cards because I can't remember how to keep my train of thought, as always. So anyways, I kind of woke up one morning and had pins and needles all along the right side of my body, and then really bad in both hands and up my right forearm a little bit. The next day I started getting really weak in my legs, making walking a little bit difficult. My vision, of course, started going out, as it always does. And I had also been dealing with really bad itching for a while, and I thought it might have been, my cards are flying away here, I thought it might have been like an allergic reaction to a new medication. But it lasted quite a while after I stopped that medication, and it kind of pops up now and then, even now after I'm pretty much over this exacerbation. But I mean, itching is the worst way of describing the sensation, because yes, it was itching, but it was the most deep, severe itching I've ever experienced, and it was miserable to the point that I wanted to just sit there and cry because it was horrible. What was much worse than that was something I had heard of but never experienced before. It's what's kind of called the MS hug, and that is a very cruel nickname because it is not like any hug you will ever want to experience in your life. It is a horrible crushing feeling in your chest and abdominal area, and basically what it is all your muscles are contracting inside your stomach and your chest. So when it's in your chest, your muscles are contracting, and it's pushing against your diaphragm, and that's what kind of makes you feel like you can't breathe. Most people deal with that. For me, that lasted a couple days, but then it moved to my lower stomach area, and that's where it was the most severe. And it felt like somebody was sitting on my stomach all the time. I couldn't eat. It made me nauseous to eat because my stomach was so tight. Actually, another way of putting it would be the closest I've ever felt to that sensation is if you do a bunch of sit-ups, you're working out and you do as many sit-ups as you can, and then at the end of your workout session, you do like a half sit-up and hold it, and that feeling of just your stomach muscles just being tense, wanting to give out, that's what it felt like all the time. It made sleeping hard, and it made eating hard, it made sitting hard, it made everything difficult, just made being awake miserable. And no amount of painkillers or muscle relaxers or anything did anything to help me. I just had to suck it up and stick it out. So that was the worst thing that I had to deal with, because I'd be starving but I couldn't eat, and I felt nauseous all the time. But my hands also suffered pretty bad. The pins and needles and numbness were most intense in my hands, and even now it still hasn't fully gone away, but it's gotten much better. But the closest I can compare that to, besides the feeling of pins and needles and falling asleep on your arm and it being kind of limp every once in a while, the stiffness was like if you put your hands in a bucket of ice water and held it there forever, and then you pull it out, and now your fingers are kind of all stiff and they feel really hard to move, like they're kind of sluggish and slow. And then imagine trying to go from that to typing on the computer, how hard that would be. That's how my fingers felt and still kind of feel now. So anyways, that's the what symptoms I was dealing with. And for about 2 or 3 days, I had the whole hiccup thing again. I had that during my first exacerbation, and then I had it this time too, just uncontrollable, non-stop hiccups. But this time I got a medication for it. And it actually seemed to help pretty well. Treatment. I stopped my LDN at the discretion of my LDN prescribing doctor. He said to stop it until my exacerbation had subsided. Then I went to my neurologist, despite the fact that I really didn't feel it necessary, because he had already ordered a steroid treatment before. I just had never gone to it, so it was kind of sitting around. So I was able to call the infusion center and actually schedule that. So that was kind of ironic that I had that kind of sitting there on the sideline waiting for me to set up. So I went to my neurologist, who I don't really like, and I went in. Before, I had asked him for a procedure called plasmapheresis. It seems to help a lot of people. In fact, I had read a report by the American Association of Neurology, or American Academy of Neurology, I can't remember. I'll put up whatever it was on the video. But anyways, they had a report showing that plasmapheresis was, it did show positive results in people with relapsing remitting MS, especially if those people respond well to steroids, which I do. And I had asked for it before, and he said no, so I kind of let it go. But this time around, now that I was relapsing really hard, I didn't want it to get any worse than it was getting, so I went in there with the attitude that I was going to get it. And I fought for it. He kept saying no. He said it won't affect the progress of the overall disease. I said I knew that. I said I just wanted some symptom relief, because that's all it's good for. It's not a cure for MS. I know that. I'm not dumb. But neither is steroids. They relieve immediate symptoms. And plasmapheresis is supposed to be done after steroids, and it's supposed to help even more. And I know somebody who has done it pretty much after every steroid treatment she's done, I believe, and she has had really, really good luck with it. So I really wanted to try it, but he just refused. And I was showing him the paperwork, and he was he kind of talked to me in a really condescending tone, as I put it on my blog. And I don't like that, because I know I'm not an idiot, so I don't like to be talked to like I am an idiot. I wasn't pulling that information off of Wikipedia. It was a pretty reliable source of information based on actual studies, clinical studies. Long story short, we kind of started getting into it, and I ended up standing up and telling him he was wasting my time, and I left. I just got up and left. Now, my mom had gone with me to that appointment, obviously, because I could not drive, or it's kind of difficult for me to walk, so I need somebody to go with me, and that is who went with me. And she stayed behind in the office as I made my way up to the infusion center. And now, right before I left, he had pretty much challenged me to show him a patient whose doctor used plasmapheresis as a means of treating an acute exacerbation, which he said I was not experiencing. Anyways, I told him I would, because I knew somebody who that was the case. And I also told him I would be sending a formal complaint to member services. And that's when I got up and left. Now, for some reason, after that, and after he talked to my mom for a bit, he decided to give me the extra 2 days of steroids that I wanted. That before he said were unnecessary. He decided to give me the spinal MRI that I have been asking for, that time after time I have been told is completely unnecessary. And he also gave me 3 months of disability, which he said was out of the question before. But now, all of a sudden, he's giving me all this stuff. He didn't cave in on the plasmapheresis. For that, he referred me to another neurologist in LA to see if I really need plasmapheresis or not, and I'm not going to go because I'm not going to waste my time, because my experience with every single Kaiser neurologist has been the same. They will not give me that plasmapheresis treatment because plasmapheresis is roughly $2,000. It's a $2,000 procedure, where steroid treatment is about $50. It has become very, 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 very clear to me that Kaiser is a profit machine. They are in it to make the money. The less people you treat, the more money you make, and that has been true to this day in my experience. Bottom line is, I'm not going back to that neurologist, and I'm not going to that other neurologist he referred me to. I'm hopefully changing my insurance in October, and that will be effective, would be effective at the start of next year. So I'm going to try to stay healthy and maybe just see my LDN doctor in Palm Springs until I change my insurance, because I really have no intentions of going back and visiting Kaiser other than my primary care physician and getting my medication and the little basic stuff. So I did my 5 days of steroids. I experienced maybe 3 days of a really low body temperature, and I can't find anybody else who had that experience or any information linking that symptom to any of the medications I was on or the steroid treatment. I've never experienced this before, but I maintained a steady 95 degrees for about 3 days, and that is borderline hypothermia. It was not pleasant. It made me feel horrible, but that kind of went away on its own. So now I have most of my energy back, and my balance is better, and my vision's better, and the pins and needles are mostly gone. Pretty much everything's gone away, except my hands are still a little bit stiff, so typing's still a little bit difficult. Playing the piano is still really difficult. But for the most part, I'm doing okay now. And I'm kind of reaching what I am now accepting as my baseline. So, I don't feel great, but I'm not as bad as I've been. So, I still think that one day I'll find a way to reach maybe even 95% recovery. It's going to take, I think, different changes in lifestyle, experimenting with different medication. I haven't gotten a chance to really try the LDN for a long period of time, so I'm going to hopefully start that up in the next day or two. But I really, really, really do believe that I can, get to the point where I have good balance again, so I can go hiking and do some of the things that I did even after my first exacerbation. Maybe that is foolish of me to think so. Maybe that is in some way me having a late denial, brain fog. That would be great if it went away too, because I lose my train of thought and I can't find the words that I'm looking for, and it is frustrating. And usually I would cut this out, but I'm not going to. See, I can't even remember what I was talking about. Usually I pause it, sit there for a while, and think, okay, what was I talking about? But forget about it. Bottom line is, I'm doing much better, and I'll try to do some more videos soon. But remember to check out my blog at mattsms.com. So anyways, thanks for watching, and hope everyone is doing okay.